Right, so Israel have come out with some of the dodgiest evidence going to justify their bombing of civilian infrastructure, haven't they? Refugee camps, churches, mosques, over 40% of homes are all bombed out, but a favoured target has been the sheer number of hospitals hit, all under the auspices that Hamas are using the buildings for nefarious ends. But they've been tunnelling under them, and they have to be bombed out, and any loss of services as a result to the people of Gaza, well, that's their fault for hiding Hamas. How dare they? But it is the excuses. Going into a hospital and pointing to paper on a pinboard alleging that it is a list of terrorist names, figuring nobody would zoom in and read it and reveal that it was in fact just a calendar with days and dates written on it. Justifying the targeting of a hospital because there is clearly a Hamas tunnel entrance there when building plans revealed it to be a water tank. Saying they are sending incubators into hospitals in Gaza when it isn't a lack of incubators that are seeing babies die, it is a lack of power to run them. Faking a video featuring an Israeli actress saying Hamas is not letting them leave, pretending to be a hospital staffer, when it was all staged. Video of them helping an elderly man to safety, showing the IDF's compassion, when the reality was they put 2 bullets in his back off camera. But the latest one, though, is so incredulous, I felt I had to cover this, because now Israel is basically saying that Hamas are capable of defying the laws of physics. Right, so this may be a story you've heard something about, but perhaps may not have, or may not have realised how really, really insane it actually is. And this is the story of Hamas stashing weaponry behind an MRI machine in al-shifa hospital. Big metal stuff stashed around what is basically a giant magnet. There's a good idea. Now this tickled me because aside from being a politics mouthpiece, I am actually in possession of a degree in physics. And I saw this story and I couldn't help but laugh. Dark humour, gallows humour I suppose you would understand. But anyway, anyone who has been in for an MRI will know you've got to strip yourself of anything metal, anything magnetic before you go in, lest the machine do something unfortunate to you. If they can do this to an extremely heavy hospital bed, you can imagine what they can do if you, say, leave your piercings in, or a necklace on, or a stash of grenades and guns behind it. Some of these machines are powerful enough to lift a car up. They are stupidly powerful electromagnets, MRI machines, that create a magnetic field around your body of anywhere from 1.5 to 7 Tesla in strength. The stronger the magnetic field, the better the image. Tesla being the unit of measurement for magnetic field strength, and was so long before Elon Musk's exploding cars of the same name came along. For reference though, if you've ever watched one of those YouTube videos of those magnets, little magnets on the desk that they put closer and closer together and then smash together, utterly merging and melding and destroying themselves because they're so powerful. Neodymium magnets they're called. They come in at about 1 Tesla in strength. So these machines are no joke. It's a great big donut they stick you into, not for the claustrophobic, exerting a powerful magnetic field which basically causes all the atoms of your body to line up so that a radio wave scanner can then produce an image of your internal doings. So now you know how they work. I've seen what they can do. They go wrong, where you put something metal near it. You can imagine why I had a little bit of a laugh at the Israeli Defence Forces attempt at pretending this was a good place to stash anything made of steel, let alone weaponry and grenades. Now all of this has happened in the al-shifa hospital, which is the largest hospital in Gaza, and the IDF proudly stood with a big old stash of weapons they'd allegedly removed from the hospital to prove that Hamas were there, and everything they said about them hiding in amongst civilian populations and attacking hospitals and in public buildings was true and justified, and in no way did they plant any of it behind the MRI machine in al-shifa hospital. Except I firmly believe that that is exactly what they have done. Al-shifa hospital lost power about a week ago. MRI machines, because they are complex, expensive, and they do a highly specialised job, it is also a complex, expensive and highly specialised job to set them up to begin with and get that monster of a magnet going. They never get turned off. In fact, it can cause significant damage to the machine to turn them off. A power cut, though, courtesy of Israel, with Keir Starmer's backing, of course, despite his denials since, well, that'll do it. Once the power is cut to an MRI machine, a safety feature will kick in, which is called quenching, which expels all of the liquid helium, which is also contained inside the MRI machine, which keeps the copper wiring of that electromagnet supercooled. So it works properly. It goes out into the atmosphere, vented away, otherwise that helium won't stay cool. And helium, as you know, tends to be a gas at normal temperatures, and the machine, well, it wouldn't like that liquid suddenly boiling into gas inside it, and nor would anybody who would be too close to it. No longer cool though, with the helium gone, the magnetic field finally fails, though this can take several days. And the machine is unusable from that point, obviously. Now, quenching can cost thousands and thousands of pounds, A, to replace, and B, also damage the machine. So suffice to say, I don't think helium is getting into Gaza right now. I don't think these MRI machines are in any way, shape or form functional. They can't be with all that weaponry lying around them. Simple fact of the matter is, even if Hamas were stashing weaponry around that MRI machine, they cannot have been doing it while it was still in use. Given Gaza only has power for so many hours each day, I would imagine these MRI machines are heavily reliant on generators as a rule, since they must stay on, and as such would be very reliant on fuel, which is also being rationed and isn't getting into Gaza. I could also imagine that hospital will have prioritised their generators for life-saving equipment, life-preserving equipment, rather than what would be a very energy-thirsty device just used for imaging. In short, these weapons can only have been stashed there very recently, the machine clearly having lost power and been quenched for there to be no magnetic field there anymore. So that had to have taken place some days ago, I would think, to err on the safe side. There cannot possibly be any magnetic field present anymore. Would Hamas scuttle their own hospital equipment, however, just to stash weapons in that precise location? I don't buy that. That would be an epically stupid act of self-harm, wouldn't it? What an expensive waste of equipment just to find a hiding place. Would Israel stage it because they think we're all stupid? Well, yes, I think that's a lot more believable. There's plenty of other examples, but this one is less obvious. Less obvious enough to fool many, but not me, and I dare say not people who are familiar with these machines and indeed who work on them. And when you open this story up, just how stupid they think we are gets revealed. They weren't even finished yet, though. The BBC have reported on the findings of this stash, and although they missed the point about the MRI being an incredibly dangerous, probably the most stupid place you could try to hide metal weaponry, they noted that when one of their reporters viewed it, upon returning to the site of the stashed weapons later, they found even more weaponry had been added to it. The IDF excuse was that this was more weaponry found from elsewhere. But surely if you were interested in building up a case against Hamas here, you'd separate your exhibits and not grow the one stash you're claiming to have found. The fact is, those weapons were never there whilst the machine was working. Al-shifa had power a week ago. It may have had a generator powering the MRI machines there for a short time after. It could have taken several days thereafter for the magnetic field to finally fall, but the fact is, these machines are off and have quenched, and the magnetic field has dissipated for those weapons to be able to be sat there with no nasty bed bending or explosive effects being had on them. Frankly, you'd need to have been born yesterday to believe they've not been planted, and honestly, it might have only been yesterday that it was safe for Israel to actually do it themselves. They've had al-shifa surrounded for the last 3 or 4 days. There is no way that can be a Hamas stash, because Hamas have not been there for at least the last 3 or 4 days. If they had been, Israelis would have killed them by now. You can condemn Hamas for a great many things, but they haven't done this. This is Israel once again fabricating evidence, and it's getting really silly now how much of this is getting exposed, and yet the Western world, especially the media, still treats what Israel tells us as gospel. Another example of this happening in this hospital was the matter of a laptop. This is a story that's gone around. I think it's been publicised a lot more because it was a lot more of an obvious thing to debunk. The claim being that this laptop belonged to Hamas, despite the keyboard having been in Hebrew, not Arabic, and the charger having an IDF electronic marker code written on it. So the propaganda is insane, and it's easily seen through, and it's called out, and we all need to be calling it out. We all need to be ridiculing it and ensuring all of this evidence is being highlighted so it can all be used later on to build a case against the Israeli state, because what they are doing is genocide. There are people who need to be put on trial for war crimes over this. But apart from all of that, it'll open more eyes to the truth, which is that nothing Israel says can be trusted. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this video useful. Please like, share and subscribe if you did. More content out daily. Please do have your say on this story in the comments below and be part of the conversation. Meanwhile, there's a video recommendation where the hospital tunnel lies of Israel got shredded, not least by the engineers who helped build it. And I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.